Remember, knowledge, it ain't free. You got to pay attention and don't believe the hype.
For over 150 years, the Kentucky Derby has stood as the most enduring tradition in American sports. And in our time, one stallion is reshaping its legacy. Back-to-back Derby winners. His first son at stud siring another. A dynasty in motion. A motion that again has forward momentum toward Louisville, with another elite crop of 3-year-olds bearing his genes. Spendthrift Farm, home of Into Mischief.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
For some, they say it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. For us, it's about potential financial opportunities. Never bring a knife to a gunfight, and make no mistake, big money is up for grabs, and this is a fight. Never settle for second best. The Past the Wire annual Kentucky Derby seminar. Nobody does it better. Preparation is key. Be better prepared, delve deeper, stealth. They won't see us coming and they won't know we're there. Money management, ticket structure, pace, all the intangibles, thoroughgraph, everything that matters to make it count, to have that edge. In the end, if things go as planned, it'll be like we stole the money. Never think about the consequences if it tastes good. There's a lot of ways to handicap a horse race and a lot of ways to bet on it. But nobody that I know does it like Gio Setti and his full card precise order handicap. Every horse in the race gets a predicted order of finish like only Gio can do, way beyond a deep dive, available exclusively on select days at Past the Wire. This is important, so you're going to want to remember it. If you're a cat and you want to become a lion, you're going to have to lose your taste for rats.
Hey, Sure Bet Coffee. Put that giddy up in your cup. That giddy up in your cup. Sure Bet Coffee.
Ciao tutti. Welcome to another episode of Past the Wire TV. I'm flying solo today. Gio is doing his Louisiana Derby Day full card analysis and selections. Big Race Jim did his show Sunday morning, recapping everything that happened over the weekend. Charles did his Race Lens show last week on the Virginia Derby and the late pick 5 over there. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little preview of the Louisiana Derby, which is an important and significant prep race for the Kentucky Derby. We're going to do our little Kentucky Derby radar thing, which not a lot has changed on that, but there are some things worth mentioning. And we're going to wrap up with a couple of comments on the NHC tournament won by Mr. Piazza. Congratulations to him. And that'll be a wrap. So we might as well get started with our Kentucky Derby radar talk. And not a lot has changed. Journalism has been on the top of my list since October. Funny thing is, now he's on the top of almost everybody's list, which is not the best thing to happen. He closed as the favorite in the future book that was this past weekend. Nobody wants to really have the favorite this early out in the Kentucky Derby, but I liked him in October when really hardly anybody even knew who the heck he was. And the same thing happened to me last year with Sierra Leone. I got on him real early, right around the Remsen, and stuck with him the whole way. He didn't win the Derby, but he ran huge. Wound up winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. I like journalism every bit as much, and have since I really first saw him on the racetrack. He just had Kentucky Derby type, Belmont Stakes type written all over him. He's done nothing to sway my opinion in that regard. Sovereignty, Bill Mott's horse, also high on the list, and now he's high on everybody's list as well. He took a little bit longer to get onto my radar, but he's definitely there now. And we did talk about, his last race in the Fountain of Youth looking better than it really was because of the run-up. There was a big run-up that day, so it wasn't a true Gulfstream Mile in the 16th short stretch race like it's being made out to be, but it was still an impressive race, and I expect him to go forward. Now, with that, the two horses out of the Tampa Bay race, which, I felt was going to happen, and I think it did. Owen Almighty, I think they gave the race to him. As we discussed previously, Brodeur didn't go. Sprinter wound up on the lead. He's going to win that race 9 out of 10 times the way it unfolded. But the two horses coming out of that I expect to improve significantly next time out are Chance and McPatrick, which I've said all along, have not given up on him by a long shot, and Hill Road, who I liked at 60-1 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Now he's in Chad Brown's barn. Needed that last race at Tampa. I expect both of those horses to go forward significantly in their next preps. I expect, don't know, but expect one to wind up in the Bluegrass, the other one to wind up in probably the Wood Memorial, and we'll see we'll see how they go from there. I expect both of them to show significant improvement, and both can cast themselves right into the Derby picture as far as I'm concerned. Now, back to journalism and him being a favorite, if he is indeed the favorite. I don't really worry about that because the favorite in the Derby is what? Going to be 7-2, 3-1, 4-1. What's the difference? There's going to be a ton of value to be found, be it the exacta, triple, pick 4, pick 5, all those 2-day wages smorgasbord that they got. So if he winds up a single or winds up a main play and he's a 4-1 favorite, there's going to be ways to create value with him. So I'm not going to worry about that and let that sway me. What I would be more worried about is all the kisses of death and mushes that are jumping on his bandwagon now. Sometimes it's too much weight. But one thing I learned doing this for a long, long time and doing it rather successfully, as much as it may seem so at times, and as much as there are a couple of exceptions, usually none of that bullshit affects the outcome of the race. So be that as it may, you land where you land, and not going to bet against a horse I think is going to win because some kiss of death Maloika likes him. I ain't going to worry about it. Let the chips fall where they may. Besides, we got the Maloika remover, Cornetta. This is actually made of coral from the sea of the coast of Sardinia. Very special made, blessed very specially. So hopefully, well, put it this way, it ain't gonna hurt. So We won't worry about that bullshit. So journalism probably winds up in the Santa Anita Derby, possibly the Bluegrass. I tend to think they'll stay home and run in the Santa Anita Derby, but you never know. But the thing is, he's in a beautiful position. He won the San Felipe when he didn't have to. Uh, really, really went into beast mode and exploded. Now they're in a situation where they could run in that next race and just they don't got to peak, they don't got to gut them, they don't got to empty the tank. They are in a position where they can give him a little education, put him behind more horses, put him between horses, put him on the rail, get him to do something he may not be a little bit comfortable doing. Really in a great position to give the horse a little bit of an education and a little bit more foundation. And I don't think there's a jockey that's as good as Umberto Rispoli is in doing that kind of thing and really, working with a trainer and having that kind of insight to really know what a horse needs to move them forward. So I expect journalism, barring anything unforeseen, which, it's a funny game, hopefully all goes well for him, but it's a funny game. All kinds of shit could happen. None better, sure bet coffee. But, all things, on the square, I think he's going to be coming into the race as, a horse ready to really, really, really run a big one. So we'll see what happens. It's the Derby. So many times the best horse just flops and doesn't fire. So you never know. We'll see what happens. But, he stays on top of the list. And really right now, those are the only four on my list. And journalism is absolutely number one. The other three, Mott's horse and the two Chad horses, no specific order. They're the other ones on my radar. And that's it. My list ain't a dozen. My list ain't 10. My list ain't 20. My list ain't 6. It's 4. So we'll see what happens. Now, with that said, it's going to be 5. There's going to be a Bob Baffert horse somewhere on that list. I'd like to say Cornucopian at this point. Mirror, mirror on the wall. He just may be the fastest of them all. And one thing I learned, you can't beat what you can't catch. If that horse comes back and runs in the Arkansas Derby, which I suspect he is going to, and why is that field and winds up in the Kentucky Derby of 3 starts, Bob Baffert can do that. He can win the Kentucky Derby off 3 starts. Not a lot of guys on that list. That's for shit sure. But he's one of the few. And you could go back to the earliest days in horse racing history, and that's over 100, 150, whatever. Not a lot of people on the list of guys that could win the Kentucky Derby off 3 starts. Never been done. Anybody can do it. It's Bob. So stay tuned. Let's see what happens with him. He's still got a bunch of other good 3-year-olds in there. So you can't discount him, especially his first year back after that suspension and missing a couple. When he came back to the Preakness, bang, he won it with, I think, National Treasure, whoever it was. He's got his eyes on those roses. And if he's got his eyes on something, you better watch out because he doesn't come to fool around. He comes to play. So, I'm not sure who it's going to be yet. If you put a gun to my head and said, you got to pick one of Bob's horses right now, I'll go with the fast one, Cornucopian, knowing that he might not even be in the starting gate. But if he is, that means that he won or ran huge in the Arkansas Derby, somehow got enough points to get in. If he doesn't win, but if he wins, that means he's 2 for 2 on a lead. Look out. We saw Medina Spirit do it. We saw Authentic do it. You may see Cornucopian do it. You certainly don't want to be sitting there alive in the pick 6 or the pick 5 and you caught a couple of bombs along the way and there's Cornucopian out there by 2 or 3 lengths into the first turn heading down the backstretch and you ain't got him. Terrible feeling. And a extra terrible feeling when Bob's the trainer of that horse that you ain't got that's in front on the first Saturday in May. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, journalism might be able to run him down. Certainly ran down Bonds, but stay tuned. A lot of time to do that race and see what happens. So we'll move into now the Louisiana Derby. And when we do this race, yeah, I'm going to wind up telling everybody who I like and how I see the race and go through all the horses. I don't want to say a deep dive, but not a short dive, a kind of middle of the road dive. Certainly not one of those geo deep dives, because then we'd be here. It's morning over here in beautiful Southwest Florida on the Gulf of America. We'd be here till dinner time, so we're not going to do that. But Geo will be providing his full card Louisiana Derby Day analysis and selections for those so inclined to see Geo's opinion. We'll, of course, have our tracking trip stuff up there. And if you haven't gotten a seat yet for our Kentucky Derby seminar, I don't know what you're waiting for unless you hate money or don't want to be prepared. So grab a spot while we got them. Remember, if you didn't get a hat, those $3,000 hats are all gone. But I do got some more coming up. So if you're a real fan and a real supporter of the shows and of the website and of all of our team, you may wind up with a hat. And those are nice hats. Nicest hats in the game. No question about it. Louisiana Derby. First off, I love it as a prep. You know, every year everybody says, oh, it's the best prep. It's the best prep. It's the best prep. But it hasn't actually been a machine for spitting out Kentucky Derby winners. But you got that long stretch, good foundation builder, mile and 3/16. A little bit longer, 16th of a mile, longer than a mile and an eighth, not quite that mile and a quarter, Preakness distance, mile and 3/16. So serves as a great, great, great prep. And no different this year. Nice field. John Hancock starts from the rail. Brad Cox, who's 32% at the fairgrounds, but don't you kind of notice that he's kind of cooled down the last couple of weeks? I have, and there could be a reason for that, but that's not for now or this show, and I don't really know for sure what the reason is, but you know, it's a streaky game. Everybody goes into slumps, and Brad has been a little bit chilly, and chilly for Brad is good for a lot of other people. So, but he still is at the fairgrounds as of today, like 30%, 32%, whatever it is, wins. And he's got close to 100 starters over there, so that's no joke. John Hancock starts from the rail, comes out of the Sam Davis Tampa Bay Downs race. He's got 2 Tampa Bay Downs races. He wins them both. And what do I always say? If you watch the shows, you know, I try and give information that's going to help us, not just with one race. This is a marathon, not a sprint. That'll help us going forward and maybe on another day that we ain't even thinking about today. But Tampa Bay Downs is a quirky, deep, sandy track. Even when it plays fast, that legs horses up really good. So we know John Hancock is legged up good. He's got the rail. He's got speed. Pratt has almost got to go unless they're going to get real creative and try and take him back and educate him and find out if they could win the Derby coming from off the pace, which Brad Cox and Flavian Pratt have been known to try and do. But without knowing that in advance, I got to say from the rail, he's going to be part of the pace. And let me tell you, he outgutted Owen Almighty big time last out. Owen Almighty came out of that race and won. A race I thought that he should win, that I didn't like him that day, but they handed him the race. So he was kind of, the way things turned out, supposed to win. But I don't know that I want John Hancock coming out of that dogfight right now. And that's what it was. Even though Owen Almighty validated it with a win, you know, in the Tampa Bay Derby, I don't know that I want it. And I think there's other pace in the race. So John Hancock is a really nice horse. I'm high on him as a horse. I'm impressed with that last race. I just don't want to bet him back off it at a mile and 3/16 on Saturday at the fairgrounds with that long stretch. Uh, Chunk of Gold is a horse that's going to be coming from off the pace. Uh, he's got those 2 races on the synthetic. The other angle we've been talking about all year, excuse me, and making money with all year is horses coming off Turfway Park. Well, bang, he was one of them. He came off 2 races at Turfway Park on that synthetic track, and he runs second in the Risen Star at 43 to frickin' 1. Those horses coming off that track alive, but he's had to start over it, on the dirt, coming off it. I think the day to go after him was that day at 40 to 1. He run that bang up second to Magnitude, but I'm going to pass on him in the Louisiana Derby, even though I think the race probably sets up for somebody coming off the pace, but I don't think it's going to be him. Tistastic, I'm going to go off him. I liked him a lot last time. Coal Battle won the race. I didn't like him. Matticat Road, who I did like, run second. I liked Tistastic. I like somebody better than all of them. I don't remember who it is right off the top of my head. Doesn't really matter. They didn't win. But I will say this. Tistastic, other than that marooned post position, I got no excuse for him. He was just okay. And I think that should have been a race that he really went forward. So, in watching the replay, if I could get something other than that marooned post to say, yeah, okay, I got an excuse for him, I might be able to come back with him, but I don't see it. Jose jumps off and goes somewhere else. Pass for me. Yinza, speed, part of the pace. Steve, when they win, they could always have a light bulb kind of race and win back. He's deadly, but he's going to have to prove it to me with this one. I don't really like him. I think he's part of the pace. Caldera, Wayne Lucas. Big shout out to the coach, man. D. Wayne, he got the Amwager Racing moment of the week this week. Who else could you give it to? He wins going away to Virginia Derby. Now he comes back with a contender in the Louisiana Derby, a horse who, in my opinion, going from Bejarano to Gaffleone is a rider switch that I like a lot. I think it's an excellent rider switch, and the horse has speed, but can also sit a perfect trip, get to jump on the closes, can be anywhere Tyler really wants him to be. My one knock on Wayne Lucas is, his horses can always jump up and run big, but they don't always hold their form consistently. They have a tendency to jump up when you don't expect it and to flop when you don't expect it. At least at this point in his career. Years ago, it wasn't that way. Wayne off the plane in the 80s or 90s, whenever the heck that was, forget about it. They fired every time. Not so much now. So I've got a hesitation about this horse. He's a my racehorse horse, so he's going to be overbet. But he's a contender. He's a contender. If he runs back to either of his last 2 races or goes forward, which he may, contender. And definitely has the right style to be in the right position on the Tyler in this race. So I make Caldera a very serious player. The other horse, not the other horse, another horse I think is a serious player, is Built. Built puts blinkers on. And one thing about Wayne Catalano, all right, he can train horses. Make no mistake about it. He can cook damn good too. And all kinds of food, not just Cajun food. Catman can cook Italian food. He can cook everything. But he can train a racehorse for sure and has been doing it a long time. And this horse, I think, is slowly and steadily getting better. And I think that, we know Jose is riding lights out at the fairgrounds. He's riding damn near 30%. puts blinkers on. I don't like putting blinkers on off good races, but I'm not going to question the Catman. But I think this horse also sits a really good trip and makes noise when it counts, and runs another good race. And he really, except for that first race to East Avenue at Ellis Park, when East Avenue went wire to wire, come out of that race and win the race at Keeneland, stretching out. Other than that race, he's never really run bad. He run disco time to a neck, uh, in the slop. He's got 3 races over fairgrounds. Uh, he kind of flattened out in the race against Magnitude, but I think he's going to go forward off that race. Uh, so maybe that's why they're putting the blinkers on, because he did flatten out a little bit. But like I said, I think he goes forward off that race, and I think he's a contender. And I also think the next horse is a serious contender and a horse that's definitely going to go forward out of the same race, and that's Vassimo. That's the horse that drew the betamethasone positive for Todd Pletcher. Same drug that Medina Spirit had and caused all that whole fiasco controversy. It didn't happen when it happened with Pletcher, but that's a whole nother story. But same drug. This horse ran a funny kind of race. Up there, dropped back, came again. I like horses that come again. I like the fact they're putting blinkers on. I like the fact that IRAD sticks 3 times. And I remember the mare, Be Sharp Anita. She was a running SOB. She was a racehorse, boy. I saw her run live many, many times. I know that a lot of the times the good race mares don't, necessarily become great producers, but I like to Be Sharp Anita a lot. She was very, very talented, very versatile, and I think Vassimo is a runner, and I think takes a major step forward on Saturday, and is probably my narrow top choice in the race. There's 3 horses I think can win it and that I like, and that's Caldera, Built, and Vassimo. And I'm going to give Vassimo my narrow vote over the other 2. But if I was betting a pick 4 or a pick 5, now mind you, I never win at the fairgrounds. It's the one track I just can never get lucky at. I've said it on other shows in the past. I never hit it. And if I'm alive in a pick 4 or pick 5, the last leg I could be alive with 8 out of 10, and the 2 I don't have will run 1-2. It's just can't get lucky there. But I do lean a little bit to Vassimo, sitting a good trip, putting blinkers on, and moving forward for Todd at the right time. I like Irad sticking, and we'll see what happens with him. And he's a horse that, if he runs good, can wind up on my Derby radar. The other 2 that I like, Built and Caldera, are not horses that I see at this point making their way onto my Derby radar. The only horse I could really say that could make it onto my Derby radar is Vassimo, or possibly John Hancock if he fools me and runs good anyway on the rail out of that, just gut-wrenching Tampa Bay Downs race. So those are the 2 that could make it onto the radar. One of them I think could win. One of them I don't think is going to win. But those are the 2 that could make it on the radar. So there's a difference. 3 horses I like to use and think could win. One is a radar, potential horse, and that's Vassimo. The other radar horse who I don't like as a contender in the race on well, I shouldn't say contender. I guess, if you like him, he could certainly win, but I don't like him, and that's John Hancock. But if he fools me and runs better than I expect, he's one I could say, yeah, he's on my Derby radar. He's that good, because then he'll be 3 for 3. Or he can lose and still make it with a big race. So he can wind up on the radar. Furio, I like the McKinseys. He's got a lot of speed. I think he's part of the pace. Jose is off him and on Built. Saez picks him up. Saez likes to go. I think he'll use the speed, ensuring on his pace, which mile and 3/16 at the fairgrounds, I'm looking for somebody to come off. instant replay. The other Cox horse, I don't know. He's coming off a big win over the track, off a layoff. They ran this horse for a tag twice, 150 and then 100. Not really a tag that anybody is going to take him because, maiden claimers for 100, 150,000 don't get claimed very often. But the fact they ran it for a tag twice is a little suspect in my book. I say prove it, not a believer. Hypeness, whatever, Ken McPeak. He's another one that pops up sometimes when you don't expect it, and sometimes when you do expect it. This horse ran big over the track, going long in the slop. Then kind of didn't run well, although he had a lot of traffic in the Rebel. I would say he's a sneaky, dangerous long shot to get a piece. He's an into mischief out of an Uncle Mo. He's definitely one to watch. And maybe there's an outside chance. Maybe he could be the third one that could sneak on our Derby radar. But he's a long shot that if I was going to go beyond those three that I mentioned and add somebody else, he might be the next one that I would add. And for those of you that don't know, when you take a race like this and I say I got 3 or 4 that I would use, how I would bet that is if I'm not betting one to win, or like I might bet Vassimo to win over the other 2 in the exacta, or over the 3 if I include Hypeness in the exacta. But in a pick 5 or something like that, I would take one ticket using the 3 of them, and then I would go back and take a second ticket punching just Vassimo. That's what I call the go back ticket. I don't do that ABC Chinese restaurant shit. I do the go back ticket. There's a video under the handicapping playlist that explains how I approach that and how I do that with the go back ticket. It's worth watching if you haven't seen it. A lot of people ask me to do a video on that. I've already done it. It's up there. So you can check that out and see if that appeals to you. But that's the field. So, I got 3 horses I really think are prime contenders in Vassimo, Built, and Caldara. I lean to Vassimo, taking a big step forward. The fringe horse is Hypeness, who can, bounce back off that troubled trip. He did win that race in the slop at the fairground, so he's back on a track that he did win on, albeit in the slop. John Hancock, I'm against only because I don't think it really sets up very, very well for him. But he's a horse I'll watch to see if he's a threat going forward. Because, like I said, we like to look at these things in a way where, okay, what can we get out of this going forward that might do us some good at a later date? So it's not all about Saturday. It's all about the marathon, not the sprint, like I like to say. Now, with that, let's talk a little bit about the NHC tournament, which I don't play in. I don't get involved in it for a number of reasons. And, I'm certainly not here to bash it. Dave Portnoy was there, the Barstool guy. Everybody was saying how great for the game it is and how much hype and attention he brings to it. That may be true. That's all great. Good for him, good for the NHC, good for the NTRA, rah, rah, rah. Means nothing to me, and I think it means nothing to serious gamblers. But that's a matter of opinion. Whether or not he was breaking a rule, playing for that other guy, I don't know the rules well enough to comment on that, so I'm not going to. If he was, I would hope they would do the right thing and address it. If he wasn't, then there ain't nothing to address. But here's the thing. When you break it down, okay, most people who qualify for those tournaments, playing a bunch of them to qualify, wind up spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 over the course of the year to qualify. Most of them lose. And the winner gets an Eclipse Award. Nothing away from this Piazza guy. He won it on the square. Those are the rules. But to me, betting $2 winning place, fictitious bets, on mandatory races, on optional races, handicapping all over the country. I mean, if you're a tournament player, great. Maybe it works for you. Maybe you make money at it. Maybe you make a living at it. But a serious cash player playing every day, I think you got no shot at that. The other thing that breaks down, if you break down and crunch the numbers, it comes up to like a 35% takeout. A lot of money that goes into the tournament doesn't come back to the players. 35% takeout scenario is just stupid to participate in. It ain't stupid for Piazza. He won whatever it was, $1 million, 800 grand, whatever the case it is. It's a nice payday. But for all those people that lost, you kind of got rooked, man. It's not a good setup. The other thing I don't like, and why I don't think that the winner deserves an Eclipse Award or to be called the best player in the room, is this. Okay, going into the last couple of races, you're in 10th place, whatever. You might love a horse that's 7-2. You think he can't lose. Okay, if you were betting cash, you'd bet like I sometimes do 10, 20,000 on him, right on the nose. Good Night Olive in the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. Bang, 20 grand. Can't do that with $2 winning place. So what are you doing? You love this horse at 7-2, but I can't win the contest with him. So this horse at 30-1 that I think has no shot, and I would never bet anything but Monopoly money on. I'm going to bet him in this race, and I'm going to bet this other horse that I wouldn't even bet my enemy's money on in this other race, $2 winning place, because those are the only horses that can make me win the contest if they should win. And bing, bang, boom, they get lucky, they win. You're the best handicapper in the room. Bullshit, you're not the best handicapper in the room. You took a stab and you got lucky. I think a cash tournament like the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge is much more indicative of a better player. Now, I don't like that tournament either because I don't believe in mandatory races. I think, and if you're a Tracking Trips member, you know that. I believe that part of, if you're going to beat this game, okay, and I'm an old school guy, I've been playing for a long time and beat this game, in the 90s when a lot of these people weren't even playing yet, in the 80s, okay? Part of being able to do that is the ability to know when to strike, like a cobra. You got to know when to go after something. You've got to know when to sit back. You've got to know when to go after something to devour it. If you're going to have to go after races that somebody else tells you to bet, that's just not me, man. I bet what I want to bet. I don't bet what I don't want to bet. So if the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge was, you put up 10,000, they take 2,500, 7,500 is your bankroll, and you could bet that bankroll over the 2 days any which way you want. I'll play against anybody, anytime, anywhere, and let's go. But you tell me, I got to bet 500 on this race. I got to bet 500 on that race. I got to bet 500 on this race. I don't want to. I want to bet my whole 7,500 on one horse or one cold exacta or 5,000 to win and a $2,500 ice cold exacta. Then if I hit that, I want to take that whole thing and do it again. And all I got to do it is 2-3 times over the course of 2 days. And if I'm right, bang, I'm right in the thick of it. This mandatory bullshit, and it's just not my style. If it's for you and you're winning and you're doing it, go after it. And I may do it one day for the fun of it, just because, I've always thought that I could win one, and there's one with my name on it. So, I may do it. I may do it this year. I may not. It depends. I don't play. I would put up the money to do it. People have offered to put up money to do it with me. And that's how I would do it, because I wouldn't play in these qualifying things. I got no time or patience for that. I'm a cash player, so that's that. So the tournaments, are they good for the game? I don't know. The hype, I guess, is all right. It certainly was good for Mr. Piazza. Salute. Nice win. But I don't think, and I don't take any, he may be a great player, but I don't think it makes you the best player in the room. I just didn't think you made the right stabs over the course of the 2 days, because, like I said, the scenario, the way it unfolds, is just not, to me, indicative of the best players. And you tell me how you could sit there and have all those mandatory races, and then the optional races could be anywhere in the country, anywhere, any track that's running. How do you scan all of those in a 2 or 3, 4 day period to know which shots or which bets you want to make? I don't know. Don't know. Not for me. So all the power to you if you're doing it. But it's just not for me. And I do believe, and this is not, I'm not talking about Portnoy and what he did or didn't do, because I don't know, and I don't mean him, but I do believe that there are plenty of people that do play in collusion with each other. And I don't think there's any real way to police that, because let's say I'm playing in the tournament and I say on the side to, my friend over here, okay, you've got 2 entries, I got 2 entries. Let's play partners. I'll take these horses, you take those horses. At the end of the day, one of us wins. We quietly whack it up. I send you a nice little envelope. How do you police that? You can't. And if there's more than 2 or 3 or 4 players in collusion, how do you police that? You can't. 800,000 could get whacked up a couple different ways. You know what I mean? 4 guys, 200 grand a piece. Bing. There you go. What are we on, the honor system with that? The NTRA is going to police that. Breeders' Cup is going to police that in their tournament. Can't do it. Can't do it unless they got loose lips with sink ships. Can't do it. So, in a cash tournament, personally, if I was playing in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, I don't give a shit who's playing in collusion. I'll play against all of you. You could all play in collusion. But that's only if it's in the format I like without the mandatories. So that's my thoughts on that. That's a little Kentucky Derby radar. That's a little fairground stuff. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Grab your seat for the Derby seminar. I always say we're going to try and make this one the best one. And hopefully we will do that. Watch for all our other great content on the website and on our channel. We've been putting up a lot of great stuff. Getting away from the interviews, although Nice Guy Eddie's been doing a lot of great interviews too. I've been kind of shying away from them because I'm just kind of got bored of them. But we'll see. There's a couple of people I might be interested in talking to and might show up at the right time. So remember, it's a fight. We're going to go to the fights. We're going to win. It's a battle. But in the long run, we're going to get them. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Ciao for now. Himself, Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie. Tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, presented by Am Wager.
Tracking trips at Past the Wire. There is no better time than now to join and ride with this clan. We'll be your second set of expert trained eyes. We ain't gonna buy you a fish. Sure, we'll give you some, but more importantly, we'll show you how to fish and make you a better. CAWs, sharks in the water, no problem. We'll go against anybody, and we have the track record to prove it. Big days, big pools, and select days all year long. Well, I'll play them all. Looking for an ace? You're in the right place. Want to find that diamond? Be with us. Want to know more? Just ask a member or visit us at pastthewire.com and check out the Tracking Trips page. Nobody does it better.
And here's Tama in the final stages. The Santa Anita Derby goes to Tama. It's Tama, absolutely terrific, winning Malibu by 4 widening lengths.
Pass the Wire TV, your #1 source for horse racing news and interviews, handicapping analysis, betting insights, and more. Pass the Wire TV covers the biggest races at the best tracks.
Garnet and Luis Saez to win the Belmonte Stakes at Saratoga.
The Grey Wizard is absolutely flying. Champagne won. The Grey Wizard. Oh, it's very close. Leave it to the judge.
Like, share, and subscribe to Pass the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Blood. That makes you related. Loyalty. That makes you family.
Nobody does it better.